Ashes-bound Michael Carberry, James Vince and Adam Wheater all scored 50s as Hampshire enjoyed the better of an exciting opening day of their final LV County Championship match of the summer against Essex at the Ageas Bowl. James Foster won the toss and inserted, knowing that his side had to rely on Northamptonshire to slip up horribly in Worcester to give his side any chance at all of earning promotion to the top flight. And while Northants were picking up early wickets and points at New Road, Essex, who rested a number of their top players, were struggling to find a way through on an easy-paced pitch in Southampton. Indeed, it took Essex 12 overs for their first breakthrough. Jimmy Adams superbly held off a flashing cut by Tom Wesley off the bowling of Sajid Mahmood for 20. Liam Dawson, fresh from his 136 not out in the win over Leicestershire last week, was given some early balls to hit as he made another encouraging start to his innings as Hampshire soon found themselves on top, the runs coming at a good rate in the morning session. Dawson did offer a half chance to Ben Folkes behind the stumps, a rare thing to see here with Foster playing as a batsman only in this match. Carberry was in good form, perhaps not surprising, as he was celebrating his call-up to the full England squad for the Ashes 3 years after he played his last Test match. That selection has taken Carberry full circle after he nearly had to retire from the game a couple of years back with an illness. That is now very much in the past for the man who hits 33 next week. He'd added 86 with Dawson when the latter drove Mahmood to Foster at mid-on 40. Vince then edged to slip, another half chance really, but one which brought him 4 runs rather than his wicket. Vince has been in sublime form in the last month, in which he struck 300s, and with that moment of fortune behind him, he was soon looking very good again as he set about the Essex attack with gusto. He also had something to celebrate, having been named in the England Performance Programme squad, who will also be heading to Australia this winter. Carberry spent a while in the 40s, but then exploded back into life with 3 successive boundaries off Monty Panesar, another man back in the England fold in spite of a troublesome summer at home. That was Carberry's 8th 4 from the 114 balls he'd faced up to, although by the end of the over, his number of boundaries had moved into double figures. Indeed, he started to hit 4s for fun as he went after another of the performance programme, Timal Mills. Twice in successive balls, Carberry produced the pull shot, which has brought him so many runs over his career, and one which should come into use if the Aussies decide to pepper the England team with the short stuff. On a delightful, very late summer's day, batting began to look fairly comfortable, with both batsmen playing their shots against a side which realistically knew that promotion had slipped from their grasp when they failed to beat Glamorgan between the raindrops last week. Vince needs no invitation right now to score his runs. At the other end, Carberry appeared to be heading towards his second 100 of the summer when he easily drove Greg Smith back over his head for a 6 as the partnership between these two moved to 3 figures. But somewhat surprisingly, Carberry then pulled a Smith long hop to Mills, who took a fine low catch to depart for 85 with his side comfortably placed on 227 for 3. Vince, who made 147 not out in his last innings, added another 50 to that, the 10th time he's got at least that far this summer. He'd needed 70 balls for this one, and he reached it with his 9th 4. The 22-year-old is currently in the form of his life and looks extremely impressive. He and the new man Sean Irvine continued to play freely against Panesar, who was not to have his best day. Hampshire would no doubt have wished that they'd been able to play with such positive intent throughout the summer, one which has been a little disappointing for them in the 4-day game. By tea, these two were beginning to pile on the runs. But after the break, another attempt at an expansive drive from Irvine cost him his wicket as he nicked Smith behind to Folkes on 14. Vince was out not too long afterwards once he'd made it to 82, an innings which used up just 101 deliveries, emphasis of his confidence at the moment with the bat. He was still there when Adam Wheater got his innings going against his former county with a maximum off Smith. But then the home side had a little stutter, even though Wheater had a life when he was put down by Gautam Gambhir at slip. After Vince fell to Graham Napier, Michael Bates was bowled by a big turner from the returning Smith, who'd now been switched to the other end. Smith also had Matt Cole's LBW for a duck in his next over to leave Hampshire on 304 for 7. Perhaps typically it was one of their former players who then held up Essex's charge. With Foster arguably still the best wicketkeeper in the land, Wheater had to find new employment last winter, and he chose this day to produce one of his better innings of the season, even though he too is playing only as a batsman in this particular contest. He was poleaxed by Napier, who must surely have had a smile on his face when he then went up for a leg before appeal. Wheater may be diminutive in stature, but that did not hit his leg. With the wind back in his sails, he now reached his third 50 of the summer with this edge to third man. It took him to a half-century off only 52 deliveries, from which he'd struck 5 fours and 1 6. It was an innings which would have frustrated his former teammates, that's for sure. Wheater did have some moments of luck in his knock, but it was also one filled with some gorgeous shots too. His strokes often pack a real punch, and he was producing a number of those. He's a man who stays very still at the crease and watches the ball right onto his blade. He was given a second life shortly before the close when he tried to pull Mills but gloved high to Folkes, who missed a very similar opportunity to the one offered by Dawson earlier on in the day. At least there was something for Panesar to smile about before the day's end, as he came out of the shadows to win an LBW appeal against Danny Briggs, who had to drag himself off the pitch with 20 runs to his name. He'd added 88 with Wheater though, and that meant that Hampshire nearly made it to 400 on the first day of this match. With Wheater still there on a very entertaining 82, the home side will go again on the second morning on 398 for 8.